Hey, everybody, Pastor Vern with the daily update for June 16th, 2020. Um, Couple things as we get started today. You're going to get a letter, hopefully, in the next couple days about how we are going to reopen our churches to in person worship. Uh, Please carefully read the letter. Each location is getting a different letter because of the different scenarios that we're going to open under that seems to fit each community in the way that has been determined as the best route to go. Also, make sure that you take a look at the health directive we've added in there. We know we may have another one before we actually meet, but we also want to make sure you take a look at that because there's important information there too on what is required by the state for us to meet, and also some suggestions on how we can stay as safe as possible. We're going to get back to some church terms, I guess you would say, by request. I've got a couple more ones that have been requested. This one's kind of interesting because I hadn't thought about this one being something that people would maybe have something of a concern about, or at least maybe when they hear it, they're not sure quite what it means. It's called it's the phrase, "the God of our fathers." Now, that's one of the most significant ways that God is addressed in the Old Testament. There's lots of names for God. In fact, even ones that are unpronounceable or not to be pronounced because God was too great to even have his name called out. That would be, a reference to Yahweh. But God our fathers is a phrase we use meaning that this is the same God. This is the same God that was with the ancients, with the figures of the Old Testament that are with us today. God of our fathers, we refer to Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham. I guess I said them absolutely backwards. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as our some of our what we call the ancient fathers or the desert fathers. There was desert fathers and mothers who had that led the early history of the Jewish people that is recorded in the Bible. And they had deep relationships with God in a very different way than we actually do because of the fact that God had sent Jesus into our lives to help us with in a way that they didn't have access to. But it talks about those ancient patriarchs with those three names, that this is the same God that dwells in our hearts today through the Holy Spirit, which really wasn't the way it was introduced to them. The Holy Spirit, we know, came upon them on Pentecost, and that at that point, every person in this world had a chance to have the Holy Spirit as part of their life. Whereas our Old Testament, even though there were many people mentioned in the Old Testament who knew of the Hebrew God and knew of the power of the Hebrew God, they were not necessarily considered anyone that could be a part of that group that was under the Hebrew God. And so this was, of course, the opportunity when Jesus came to spread that to everyone through his work here. And it just gives us, everyone, the opportunity to receive that Holy Spirit. But it is from that same ancient God, that same God that was the creator God who put this world in motion. So that's kind of the thing about the term of the God of our fathers. There might be some more of those that are coming up. One of those terms also is the Alpha and the Omega. That plays right into that same term, that God is the beginning, the end, the first and the last. We know Alpha and Omega are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet, and so those are also words that tell us that God always has been, always will be, no beginning, no end, really, from the first to the last, whatever that becomes. So um, that's kind of our roundup today of our words. Remember this evening, if you choose to, there's a chance to go at 7 o'clock this evening. Go to the church parking lots. If others are gathered there, please join together or separately, however you want to do it, and lift up prayers for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for the turmoil that our country's in over race relations and over some of the difficult questions that have been brought up to us about how we move forward in the light of some tragedies that we've all know about in the news. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Y'all watch out for each other the best you can, and keep the faith. Talk to you later. Bye.